Okay, we're good.
Yeah, it's starting.
Greetings, this is Joseph Doherty. We have a very special guest today on this segment is called Council of Asuras. This is a continuation from another channel. We have Demetrius Tazarius and we have Caligula Loves. Greetings. How are you
Greetings,
today?
guys.
Awesome. So go ahead, Demetrius.
Yeah, so I am there. So here is the thing. So what I wanted Caligula and Joseph to be the topic of this, if you agree all, is only Kali Devi. So we're gonna talk an hour and a half only about Kalima, and that will be the topic of the clip, really. So Caligula, what's your experience with Kali and how you started? Because you are the most experienced person on the subject here.
I have like a huge journey with Kali. Like from the very beginning, I approached her as like a tamasic deity, which means like a deity that I came to seek um, to do like black magic, dark magic. But that was just the beginning, right? That was like the lowest form of Kali, and then over time it was like an initiation where uh, how can I say it's like there has been a her like she entered into me and she's been giving me knowledge directly. And so one of those things that I've been trying to talk about and explain has to do with this thing that is talked about in the Bhagavad Gita, and where Lord Krishna is trying to give us a doctrine for the Kali Yuga, and that doctrine becomes like the basis of the tantras for the rest of the age. But in reality, what he is saying could be said it could be said exactly by Kali, like Kali's words. She wants to say those words. Let me put it like that. Like she wants to say the same thing that he's saying, but she wants to be the one saying it, so that everybody can achieve the same thing that Krishna is talking about, but with Kali instead. Like that path that instead of doing what he's talking about in the Bhagavad Gita, he's like, I want to do this, right? And so this desire to be talked about in this way is already talked about in the Devi Gita, which is like a set of collected works very similar to the Bhagavad Gita in the Devi Bhagavatam and the Devi Puranas. The Devi already talks about all these things, but it's not this. It's not exactly the same like the Bhagavad Gita, where it's so concise and it addresses specifically the concerns of this age, right? And so eventually, I was led by Kali to these teachings that are called the 12 forms of Kali, where you like self-identify with Kali, and through this process, you achieve the very same thing Krishna is talking about in the Bhagavad Gita, not in the sense that you achieve oneness with him as him, like in the fullness of him, right? Like it's not like you go live with Krishna. It's like you become Krishna himself. Like you become a Krishna. Like, but in this sense, in the 12 forms of Kali, it's like at the beginning, you're Kali like in this limited form, and at the end of the process, you become Kali in her unlimited form, and it's like a 12-step program kind of thing, right? And so like this 12 steps of self-identification with the goddess, it culminates with like you becoming like the fullness of Kali herself. Like you become a Kali, and you become this form of Kali that's called like Guna Tita Devi. Like is she you are beyond the gunas, but yet you are embodied in the gunas. Like all three gunas are modalities that you are now embodied in, and so there's like nothing that you're bound by anymore. You can do anything that you want because you're not possessing the three goddesses within you as like Maha Supreme Kali. Like this is beyond Maha Kali. This is like this new teaching that Abhinavagupta has been talking about in the Tantra Loka. Like now we have textual, traditional scripture that we can be like, look, this teaching here is a continuity of what's been saying, what we've been trying to say for over 1,000 years, all the way back since like Uptala Deva, like one of the great masters. And so here, these texts, these teachings, is how the goddess has brought me to it. Like the goddess brought me to these texts so that I can synthesize them together and show people how, this way that Kali is being presented is the way that most people want to understand Kali. Like the Western mind comes to Kali and they want to be her, and she's like, okay, you want to be me? This is how you do it. This is how, and it's an intense process. That's why it's like, you know, she the way that she expresses it is like, those people who come to me and are fake, I will just destroy them, and they'll just be offerings to me, right? But the ones who,
yeah.
and then the sincere ones, they will learn. Like, I will give them protection and initiation directly. And that's something that Swamiji was saying. Like, the master of the tradition that I continue to follow, he's saying that, you know, if you're earnest enough, you will initiate yourself. And so what does that mean? That means that you yourself have to be brave enough to be able to feel like you're contacting Kali directly, and that she's initiating you through this process, and when she's going to show you how to be herself.
Yeah. So I have a question for you. So since I started working with the Kali Devi, I will kind of give a short elaboration of my experience. So according to her, so she is the transcendental being. She is like an aspect of the divine feminine absolute. So in her truest form, she is the Brahman herself. So she is kind of form of the Brahman herself, and she leads true universal oneness. So there are two paths to the Brahman. The right-hand path, which is like a pure path, mainstream path, and then there is a sinister path to the Brahman, which is controversial, the left-hand path. But they are essentially all leading to the same realization of the universal oneness. So Kali, in the form I observed her, is technically a matron of sinister path to universal oneness. And there is one specific technique she constantly reminds me of, which is stimulating the energy centers which are located below the root chakra in the legs. So those energy centers, they are technically animalistic, and they correspond to the raw aspects of the human nature. So by Kali, I was instructed to kind of curse particular people, places, or objects, and then focus the energy raised on the curse to stimulate the lowest energy center in my body, which is below the feet. It's like a black core of energy located below the feet of the practitioner. And once it is stimulated, it gives an injection of energy from below the feet up to the crown. But energy is really dark and intense. But if it's actually tapped into in its true form, it's actually nurturing and feminine. So what I also discovered is that if you work with her long enough and repeat mantra for her long enough, you will kind of stop seeing this world altogether, and something completely different will open up. So once I recited the mantra and I just saw like infinite amount of astral colors, and then in those astral colors, I saw two beams of luminous light, like ripping through that astral space of many colors. And vision lasted for maybe 5 seconds, and then it ended, and I can return to the waking consciousness. But what I am constantly told by Kali is that the point of the left-hand path is to destroy the infinite realities between our world and the truth. So technically, what he is teaching me is to use baneful magic not to curse necessarily other people, but to curse the obstacles which stand in the way of us and the Brahma. So, for example, she is teaching me to curse the veil or to curse the barriers between the worlds. And if you do it long enough, for years, now I just started doing this. This is not something I am doing for decades. I am doing this on a daily basis for months now. But what it essentially does is, as you curse the whale on a daily basis, while you invoke the Devi, what will happen is you will naturally start to fall into really deep trances and start seeing something which is not necessarily spirits, but is a state of energy beyond anything we can see in a waking consciousness. So you kind of fall in trance uncontrollably, and you see shit you really cannot explain. It's not spirits, it's not spirits of the dead, it's not some other dimensions. It's some glimpses of completely different observation of reality. And my problem with this is I don't have any idea what I am seeing. Really. So
What did you say? What was the last thing you said?
I don't have any idea what I am seeing.
Okay. Got you.
as if we are living in some form of a crazy simulation, and then somebody just clicks delete button, so you see what actually exists beyond the simulation. And because I don't see the spirits in that stage, maybe spirits are simulation too. I mean, there are so many crazy implications of this that I cannot understand anything. But
I have so much to say about what you're saying, because it's like everything that you're saying like makes sense to me, but I mean, there's just so much to get to, and it's like you enter into the worship at the level that you're at. That's what the Krama system's about, right? Like, you start off with when you get to initiate, you could be somebody who's never experienced anything, and then all the things that you're talking about is like you're going up the levels.
Yeah, but here is the thing. I kind of have a practical question for you, right? So
Right.
she's kind of introducing me to the concept of using baneful magic to create a direct link between the Brahman and humanity. So you use baneful magic to literally rip through all of the worlds in existence in order to create a direct link between the Brahman, or the ultimate reality, and this plane. And this can technically be done through harnessing enormous amounts of energy through your legs and then pushing that into singular point in the whale. And if you do it long enough, for a great amount of years, you will literally have a direct link to the Brahman. But what she kind of told me is, she kind of constantly keeps reminding me of a legend. So there is a legend that maybe, I think 10,000 years ago, there was a hyper advanced civilization in the south of India. So there was this, what they call a Kalayan Empire. So the last Kalayan Empire, I think his name was Kulu Kalayan. I don't know how to pronounce his name. What he technically did is he summoned 6 powerful Tantri gods. So he summoned Pishacha Mayalakan, the demon of ignorance, Asura Kalanemi, the lord of time, and he also summoned Shiva in his destructive form, and Kali. And he used the help of his 2 ministers, Lavalian Gatisaman and his helper. So there was 2 really powerful magicians and the 4 gods, with the entire army of like servants and sorcerers. And what they did is they massacred hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people in order to create a direct link between Brahman and humanity through pure destruction. But the problem was, so that emperor kind of wanted to link himself with the Brahman and open that portal. But emperor refused to sacrifice himself. So they slaughtered all of those people and opened all of those gates almost. But because emperor refused to sacrifice himself, entire gateway collapsed, resulting in an explosion of cataclysmic scale, which was known as a Kalayan incident, and that technically ended the Dravidian civilization and blew up everything. And what Kali is kind of teaching is that at the end of this path, when you kind of use the baneful magic to curse the whale, and you create that link, but you create that link only for you personally. It's not something which is worldwide, right? What is necessary is at the end you need to do some form of a self-sacrifice, what she calls the supreme beheading. Now, I don't have any idea what it is, but she always keep bringing up this concept. And yeah, that's like something I wanted to share with you guys, because I never saw this discussed anywhere. Anything about the Kalian incident is like absent in Western discourse on Kali. So I wanted just to share this. And what are your thoughts, guys, on all of this?
Well, if you go ahead, if you want to say something.
I want to hear what you have to think about that, because I've heard about the Kalayan incident before. I've looked into the book that he's referring to, and the Alien Institute explains a little bit about that mythos. So yeah, I'm interested to hear what you have to say about that.
Okay, so at the beginning of this, I said that that Kali originally is a Tamasic Devi. Like she is the originally, when we look at the original, like in the text where she first emerges, she is the goddess of the Tamas guna, right? So let's go back to the way that the Trinity is set up in the original Hindu system. Is that the Sattvic deity, the deity that is responsible for the celestial realm, is Brahma, and Brahma has a wife, which is Saraswati, and together they create all the good stuff, all the good angels, like the good devas, the good stuff, and they don't live here on earth; they live in a celestial realm. The middle deity is Vishnu, and he is responsible of the Rajas guna, and with Lakshmi they create the middle world, which is Earth, and all of the middle beings within Earth, not just Earth, but all the terrestrial spirits and all the spirits in between Earth and the celestial realm, right? All of those intermediate spirits are also mediated by Vishnu and Lakshmi. Now, this third guna, this bottom guna, is Shiva, and his wife Kali, they rule the bottom world, the Tamas guna world, the hell realms. So like Kali is the queen of the hell realms, and Shiva is the king of the hell realms. They both act as like the function of like Satan and his wife, essentially. Like essentially that's what Shiva is. It's like Satan and his wife, right? And so all of the hell realms answer to Shiva. And there's like 7 hell realms, and they all exist from like your anus down. So from like your anus down, there are the hell realms. There's 7. They're like 7 negative hell realms that are reflections of the 7 positive realms that are from your 7 chakras. So the 7 chakras are like the 7 worlds, and the earth is existing in the belly. But from your anus down, there's like the negative realms, which are the underworlds, where all of these beings exist. The reptilians exist there, the asuras exist there, the danavas exist there, the mantoids exist there, the greys exist there, all of everything you could possibly imagine. There's infinite worlds in the shadow realm. It's its own universe. It's a shadow universe, right? And so these 3 gunas, they are happening all inside something even greater. So what I'm trying to say is that in the beginning, these teachings, Kali is the queen of the hell realm. Kali is the queen of a Tamas guna. But there's an even deeper teaching that shows you how to access what's called the Para Brahman, or the Supreme Brahman, which is the thing holding all 3 of them. The one that holds all 3 of these is the Supreme. It is considered Para, which means supreme. So the Para Brahman has 2 forms, which is without gunas, which is considered nirguna. And so like the nirguna Brahman and the saguna Brahman are saying basically that this one being has no qualities and qualities at the same time. So this supreme no quality is what you're talking about. When you're seeing like this void that has no qualities in it whatsoever, that's the other world. And that is the Brahman without form. And then this world where all the form is, this is where all the gunas are playing. This is where the 3 gunas, the 3 deities, the 3 powers are playing. And this is the Brahman with form. But that Brahman which holds both of those is called the Para Brahman. And that's what Krishna is trying to say in the Bhagavad Gita. And that's what that secret teaching of Kali, Mahakali, is trying to show you. But she's trying to show you it through the Tamas guna. She's trying to show you through death, destruction, how to create that breaking through the fucking veil and that direct experience of the Para Brahman, or the part of Mahakali, through destruction, because that is her mode. That is her main teaching. You know, when you come to Kali, you're coming as a tamasic person. You're attracted to the tamasic things. So this story of the king sacrificing himself and all that, and destroying the sacrifice because he didn't sacrifice himself because he couldn't complete it. This is all veiled teachings. It's trying to teach you something, because Kali attracts people. See, originally Shiva and Kali are meant to attract people at the lowest layer. They're meant to attract people who are at the lowest layer, and because we're at the lowest layer, we're deluded, and we don't really understand what they're trying to tell us. So the more we worship them, the more we do this over time, we develop the intelligence to then look at the myths again and understand what they're really trying to tell us. They're trying to tell us that we really have to cultivate is intelligence. We have to cultivate understanding. That Kali's sword is intelligence, discrimination, understanding, and that killing yourself, the cutting your head off, is the knowledge that destroys your limited understanding of yourself. That knowledge that she gives us is going to make you even greater than the Para Brahman. This knowledge is something even greater. Like, okay, everything that you've ever been taught is trying to teach you how to reach oneness, right? But what I'm trying to teach you is something else. I'm trying to show you that, see, Kali says, not only am I the oneness, but I'm infinite in every way. So I'm also infinitely capable of reproducing myself. So we have the potential to produce like infinite Kalis, like the Supreme Kali, which is one, has the potential to create another one infinitely. So the promise here is not only to achieve oneness, but to achieve like your own oneness, your own cosmos, your own universe, your own fullness in your own way, in whatever way that you want it. Because this is like the gift that she's giving her child. Like, it's like, you love me so much, and I'm giving you this teaching because you asked for it, right? Because I asked for it, I asked. And so this teaching that is part of this is a continuation of the Shaiva Siddhanta teaching, which is this idea that, you know, Shiva is so infinite that he can produce infinite amounts of himself. So every one of us can become an ontologically distinct Shiva with his own cosmos, where you can be your own God doing however you want, whatever you want. And you don't have to be part of the oneness, but yet you're part of it forever. Because the oneness can be infinitely divided, but yet never divided. That's the paradox. It is so grand, so infinite, so powerful that Kali can produce infinite amounts of herself. So this promise is not self-annihilation, but self-empowerment in every way. The five powers that are the ability to do, to know, and to will, and then the two powers to limit those powers and to unlimit. So you are activating the unlimiting, the releasing power, but eventually you're going to break through everything, and you're going to return to what you are now, and you're going to realize that the real work that we're doing is to achieve that vision where you see everything as the blissful splendor of your own power, of your own energy, that you can do anything and be anything, that everything is infinitely your own creative imagination. That is what essentially Kali is doing with the worlds. Like she is literally creating time from herself through her own self-willed power. And so this power is what we're tapping into so that we can create whatever we want in our own image. If that's what we're doing is, and you know you have tapped into that when you pierce the veil and you've accessed the bliss, what's called Ananda. This Ananda is that creative power that allows the worlds to be created and destroyed. The Ananda is both destructive and creative, because people think that bliss is purely creative or purely positive, but no. Kali shows us that the bliss can be accessed through the negative path, through killing, through destruction, because she's doing everything. She's doing both the birthing of beings and the nurturing of beings and the sustenance of worlds. And she's also destroying everything. She's like, there's a part of her that's just as real and all pervasive, that is crushing stars and killing babies and fucking up everything that you ever, like, she's also that, right? So this idea of that we meditate on that until we ourselves realize that our own consciousness is that, and then we become her through time. Like eventually through this practice, eventually you become her in every way, and it's like you can separate yourself from the timeline and create your own world. Like you can either do it by willing it so much that you create the universe and start moving it in the direction that you want to, but that's the creative aspect. The destructive aspect is you start destroying your world until you die, and then when you drop the body, you become that. You go into your own world, your own realm, and you achieve the fullness of that in whichever way that you imagine. The key thing here is that you become whatever that is that you imagine, because your inner impetus is being given to you by her, right? So she is the one who makes you want to do these horrible things, if that's what you want. That's one of the things Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. He's like, in reality, I'm not asking you to change. In reality, what you're doing right now, whatever it is that you have this natural inclination to do it, but offer it to me. And what does that mean, offer it to me? He means do it with this awareness that you're supreme consciousness. And whatever it is that you do, as you're doing it, you're going to see your power growing, expanding. Whatever it is that you do, you're going to see your consciousness putting more and more power into it as you become more and more devoted into that consciousness that you do with everything. That's what we talk about, one-pointedness. We talk about one-pointedness and putting all our consciousness on her. But who is her? She's everywhere and everything, right? She's controlling the entire all of it. And so when we talk about absolute devotion to Kali, really that's like us saying absolute devotion to the process, to everything. That's why we talk about the 12 forms, because the 12 forms talk about the 12 processes in which this entire cosmos is created, from nothing to something and back, like the whole thing, right? And that's what we're aiming for. We're aiming for that ability to create and destroy in that same capacity. Like, why wouldn't we aim for that? If we talk about what the definition of the left-hand path is, isn't it like aiming for the throne of God? Like, isn't it aiming for the fullness of divinity and the fullness of like all of it, not just divinity, like all of it? Like, isn't it like that the essential spirit of the left-hand path to reach out and to attain all of it, everything? Like, don't you think?
Yeah. There is no division, yeah. So technically, in order to follow left-hand path, you kind of need to obliterate division between pure and impure, and you kind of need to go into that totality. But what I wanted to ask you, Joseph, and you, Kala Sutra, right? You? So
Caligula.
Caligula, yeah. So Caligula, I wanted to ask one thing. So technically, a lot of people, they want to work with Kali, right? And what happens to a lot of them is they suffer a degree of mental stress, which they are not capable of handling. I saw a lot of people who kind of try to approach her, and they kind of have those difficult stories. And how someone can prepare for like that stress? Because before I worked with Kali, I was specifically instructed to first open like dimensions to another spirits and demons before reaching Corral, to kind of prepare for her consciousness for meeting her. So how you can tell us how you prepared for meeting the Devi? What is your journey to her?
Are you speaking to me, Demetrius?
No, I am speaking to Caligula. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's kind of funny because, you know, when I finally got into Tantra, I realized that there's a preparation, right? That's why the right-hand path exists. And in reality, the right-hand path is supposed to be something that prepares you to eventually get to the left-hand path. And the Bhagavad Gita shows you this. The Bhagavad Gita starts off as a very right-hand path book, but by the time you get to the end of the Bhagavad Gita, it's fully left-hand path. And it's very hard to see that because you have to have the intelligence to see past the layer that the priests have created around it. But the end of the Bhagavad Gita is essentially telling you how to achieve Krishna's fullness. Like that is the promise of the left-hand path, to achieve that fullness, right? But you can't do it unless you've prepared for it, which is all of the stuff that it's at the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, which is essentially right-hand path yoga, which is the 8 limbs of yoga. It's the yamas, niyamas, the eating right, being healthy, getting your head right, you know, like being like getting your shit together, right? Like getting your shit together, getting clean, like doing all the basic shit to get your mind, because the way that we put it like this, the biggest tool to do this work is your mind, and your mind is like a sword, and you need it clean and clear. And so you do all these things to prepare for one thing and one thing only, is to do that work with the mind. Like all this other stuff, it's not necessary. If you're born with a sharp, clear mind, you can do this work. But if you're not, you're gonna be fucking thrown. You're gonna be fucking smashed. You're not worthy for this, right? So the beginning of this path is like this building of strength and health. You have to get strong. You have to get healthy. So you do all these basic right-hand path stuff. Like you approach her as a mother. The first thing you do is you approach her as a mother. You're like, mother, help me. Mother, I surrender to you. Like, I don't know, I'm stupid. Like, help me. I'm weak. Help me. If you don't know what you're doing, you got to approach her like a mom, and you have to ask specifically to be taken care of, nicely, to be nurtured. Otherwise, you're gonna be fucking.
So technically speaking, what I mean, so technically you follow a left-hand path, right? And on a left-hand path, you kind of need to infuse yourself with enormous amounts of negative energy. That's one of the things which have to be done. So you kind of infuse yourself.
Eventually, you get to the point, right? Because that's very heavy. That negative energy is like something. It's like let's go to the gym, right? If we're talking about weightlifting, right? Like negative energy is the heaviest energy to lift, right? So you got to be like a body. You got to be built already to be like, yeah, fucking negative energy, right? Like you got to be fucking, and that's what we talk about in Tantra. We talk about when you first get to the path, you're a pashu. You're just like an untrained beast. You know, you give you this food and it'll take you over. So you got to get strong, and you become what's called a Vira, a hero. You get strong so you can do the Vira Sadhana. And the Vira Sadhana, that's when you're strong. That's when you go into the fucking cemetery and you're just like, what's up, bitches? What the fuck? What's the fuck with me now? And it's like, you're basically like, you're so strong now that you're willing to try to fucking fight ghosts, fight demons in the fucking cemetery, right? So that's the thing. You got to get strong. Like if you're like a weak person and you're just like start invoking the dark stuff, it's going to destroy you.
Yeah, there is a, but like here is the thing. So I kind of need to describe for the context of the audience what
Sure,
kind
no,
of
sorry about that.
No, that was fantastic.
yeah.
You
It's
see
like
why?
it's like amazing. I like your way of explaining,
Yeah, you see why, you
Caligula.
see why I
But
went
like,
to
so let
Caligula.
me just explain to the audience what kind of negativity we are talking about. So it's a form of negative energy you kind of get from people who kind of have cancer, and then like they are rotting from the inside. I am talking about that form of negative energy. You have to accept upon yourself through opening of particular gateways. And like that's if you're not prepared, if you take enormous amounts of that negative energy, if there is no preparation, you can literally die. So
Yes, yeah.
how I was instructed in my specific path is I was instructed to first work with Pishacha Mayalakan, like the king of the Pishachas, like the demon of ignorance, one of the lords of the demons of the graveyard who kind of feasts on the dead. And I had to like merge with him for like 2 months before starting any other working. So what I technically had to do is I summon him, he comes, and then I tell him I want to merge with you and do with me whatever you wish. And what he would do is he would like infuse me with his energy, and I had to like do this before doing anything else. What is also really important for people to know on a tantric path is that there is no pacts in Hinduism. So once you summon the entity and once you ask the entity to merge with you to a degree you can handle, it's so every time you ask them to merge with you, they will merge with you to a degree you can handle at that point. And to achieve the actual merging with the god, you need a few lifetimes, right? Whoever you choose, you want to choose the Sura, you want to choose Pistacha, you want to choose some Devi, it doesn't matter. You need a few lifetimes to complete the process. So once you ask the spirit to merge with you, they automatically make a pact with you which can last a multiple lifetimes. So they assume that you will continue the process until the end. So you kind of cannot stop this. Once you start, it's lifelong devotion. So you cannot like ask Mayalakan to merge with him and then stop doing it at some point. They will like immediately come at you because they consider that once you started merging with them, you are doing it until the end. So this is like pretty heavy. This is like the most difficult thing I ever did. But can I ask you, Caligula, how you personally stimulate the chakras below the root? Is there any method you can share here,
Well, see,
or
I'm a little different, right? Like my whole story is so different that I realize that the main problem that I have is that like because I'm different that it's difficult for me to relate a lot of things because it's almost like you know how fish in water can't really describe water until they like have matured to the point where it's like I've contemplated water because I'm a philosopher fish and I can see that I'm in water, right? No, it's like as a young kid I couldn't fucking see what I was doing. So now that I'm older, I finally understand what the fuck I'm doing. But it's like I followed a path in where I merged with God. Like I literally merged with God, and God like is in my head and talks to me, right? But for my understanding of God, God was like everything, not just the good stuff. Like God was everything. In fact, the reason why I found this path was because I literally was in love with Kali. Like when I saw her, I was like in love with her. Like I saw her terribleness, and I was just like I adore you, and I just love you. I just like I feel absolute love and devotion, and I didn't want anything from her. I just wanted to love her. That's how I approached her. I was just like already head over heels with her, and so this thing that was inside of me already was already bringing me to this. It was already guiding me and directing me and showing me. It's like it shows me where to go. It guides me to all these things. And so it's like I can't really talk about techniques because like I achieved this when I was like 10 years old when I was a kid. And so there's no technique. There's this thing inside of me that I'm trying to make sense of. But I've just made sense of it within the last 3 years. But the activation of that is what we call Shakti Upaya in our system, right? So at the beginning, the aspirant is in the Tamasguna. The Tamasguna, like the universe seems cold. The universe seems dark. And so the goddess doesn't seem like she's actually talking to you yet. Like you're reading about it, you're doing the rituals, you're doing the mantras, but you haven't had an experience where you've directly communicated with her yet. So that's the second level, Shaktiopaya. When you finally have direct communication with the goddess, then you can begin real initiation, where she's walking you directly through a path. And eventually, that path leads to the part where she shows you how to be her directly, which is the supreme path, where you directly embody her directly. And that takes it the stages, right? Well, when I realized that the enormity of the first path and that I had jumped to the end, because like I came to this already being in what's called Shambhu Upaya, where it's like I've already merged with God and God's already in my head, like as my own self. And I'm already being like impetus and impelled to all these things. So I'm always being protected. I'm always being shown. I'm always being guided. So this is how I came to these teachings, because I came to the goddess and I didn't, all I asked her was like I love you so much. I would like to learn how to worship you in every fucking way that I could, that the best way, show me the best way to worship you. And she started showing me all these texts, and she started showing me the text as they just ascended up into the Himalayas, where she showed me the text of the Sarasvati goddess, this big cube up in the fucking Himalayas, where they have all these ancient texts from like 5,000 years ago. And that's where I found this dark form of the goddess, where hidden inside of the temple is like the secret Kala teaching, and where she shows you how to be her in fullness, like all of her, good and bad. But it you have to walk through it very slowly. It's called krama for a reason. It's called Kali krama because the krama is a slow process, what you're talking about. Like the slow assimilation of these various forms is this process where you're slowly being guided with stronger and stronger energies. And she's giving you what you asked for. You want to come at her this way, she's going to come at you exactly how you want. You want to know how to be a fucking demon, she's going to show you how to be the best fucking demon. That's the thing. That's what you asked, right? You want to be the best lover, she'll show you how to do that. So that's the thing. It's like she gives you what you want. And at the beginning, everybody who comes to her in this tamasic form, they want that. They want like I know mostly all the people who come to Kali, they come to Kali because they want this dark shit, right? And she's like, okay, yeah, you know what? I'll give you a smorgasbord of dark shit. We'll fucking kill and eat as much as you fucking want until you're fucking ready for the next phase, right? The ultimate goal is knowledge. That is the essence of our Upanishad, is that the essence of what gives us liberation and what gives us that same ability that she has is knowledge, gnosis. But that gnosis is gradually attained, right? So the main thing that I'm being guided on is on a wave of what's called grace and compassion. And I know that's kind of like anathema a lot of the times on the left-hand path, but really this is grace and compassion for the lowest people. This is a path that I've been called to bring to people who don't want to give up their lifestyle, who are at the lowest level and don't want to give up. And I'm like, you know what? You have no right to give up what you want. I'm not like those Christian people who are going to be like, oh, you got to give up drugs, you got to give up this, you got to give up. No. You can come to this path at any level that you're at and begin the process of becoming one with Kali at any level. And the only reason I'm saying that is because this is something that my master and all the masters have been bringing forth down from the mountains to specifically talk about how the grace, the compassion is so thick right now that everybody's getting direct access to the path. So right now, if you're like, hey, you know what? I want to achieve this, like you can achieve it upon death. Like when you die, instead of reincarnating over and over and over again, when you die, for sure, you will be taken to a loka, like a dimension, where you will be taught exactly how you want to be taught by Kali. Like this is what this path is about, right? Like you begin this path now, and you begin to do it in whatever capacity you're at now, and you keep doing it, and whatever gains you get while you're alive, you get. But the minute you drop the body, it's like boom, that pact that you made, where you're like, you know, I give myself completely to you in this way, takes you out of this world and puts you in a loka, like your own dimension, where from that point on, you're for sure you're going to attain that, like quickly, 100%, like no doubt. And this is something that's repeated over and over and over again by our masters. Like it's in the Tantra Loka. It's why we keep talking about the 9 levels of grace, and at the highest level of grace, being union with her, but the middle level of grace just being like, hey, you keep doing what you're doing, and when you die, you're gonna get that. You're gonna get all of that. You're gonna get the fullness of that. So here we're talking about a rapid evolution of the process, where you don't have to go through lifetimes of gradual merging with entities, where you can achieve this, if not now, if not right now, and if not within like the 2 weeks of doing this practice. If you can't do it surrounded by the masters, because this is the key, you have to be surrounded with a circle of masters. That's why it's called the Kula ritual. It's a circle of masters, and then you get put in the middle, and their Shakti goes into you, and that speeds up the evolution, right? But if you're not have that access to where you're surrounded with masters who can facilitate you so that you don't go fucking crazy and you're protected by their energy, then when you die, you get that. When you drop the body, you get that. But only if you make this pact. See, this is the thing. It's only if you have achieved this pact through this knowledge, through these texts, through these masters. It's very key that you come to this knowledge through somebody who's telling it to you either directly like I am, or you come onto those texts like you've stumbled upon the text. You have the karma for that text. So everything that you're reading in that text, you have the right for it. Like you earn the karma to read. You've earned the karma to read that text. You've earned the karma to pick up the text. So you have the karma to achieve whatever's in that fucking text. Just like whatever the fuck I'm telling you right now, you have the karma to achieve exactly what I'm telling you. This is enough for what I'm telling you. Like this idea that I just told you is enough to achieve what I'm telling you.
Yeah. So technically, I kind of get what you are saying. So what you do is you technically come in contact with all of those masters, and you summon them around a circle, or you work with them physically, and then they come with you. And
that would be a great practice. That actually, like when I first started this practice, I did the practice of like I literally not I imagine my guru. My guru is in front of me. That's what I do. I sit down. I imagine my guru in front of me, and when I read the texts, the words of my guru, I make him say those words in my. So eventually, the words that he is saying to me are the words that I've been reading. So that now when I sit down and I ask him a question, it's no longer me imagining. He's directly telling me what I've read, like back to me in his words. You see what I'm saying? And that eventually gets you access to that guru lineage. It talks about this in the Mahabharata, how you can, if you build an image of the guru in your head and you keep feeding it, eventually will connect with that guru energy in the matrix, and you will get access to that. But you got to keep nurturing it with the texts. You got to sit down and read the words and keep imagining that contact with your guru.
So here is the thing. You kind of explained to me now what has been happening to me for months. So for months, I have visions of some, like, I don't know how to describe them, like lunatics on cremation grounds. And they would like draw symbols and like start chanting shit, and then spirits would come up. And I would like sometimes do the ritual, and then in the middle of the ritual, the vision will come, and then some guy in the vision will tell me something, and then I do as I am instructed, and then I get. Technically, what you are telling me is that I kind of got access to some form of I don't know.
That is the highest. That's the highest form of initiation, is through dreams. Like that, one of our main lineages, which comes from Vasagupta, that whole text that he wrote, which is one of the most advanced Shaivite texts, he got it in a dream. So like he created a whole lineage just from a fucking dream. So just those dreams are very real. The dream world is more real than this world.
Yeah. So you kind of explain. So because I originally thought that those dreams I have are just aspects of myself, but now because you are,
yourself is so much bigger than you realize, and that doesn't really help at this level, right? At this level, the idea that you're everything is good, right? It's a solid, like it's like a good goalpost. You're like, yes, I'm everything, right? But until you have that experience, it's not going to be useful. What's useful is like the stepping stones that they put to get to that solid idea that yes, it's all aspects of me. Because what happens is, okay, if you say everything's an aspect of you, the universe is going to be like, okay, I'm going to show you the most horrible thing and see if you can be like, yeah, that's the aspect of me, and be like, can you face that? Can you see the most horrible thing in your psyche and be like, yeah, that's me and I accept it? And that it'll push you to that point. That's the point of this darkness, is that you really want to become the supreme lord of the universe, you're going to have to face every fucking aspect of this universe, including every aspect of the darkness.
Yeah. So technically speaking, you kind of solved me the mystery of what I have been seeing for months now. But what's kind of interesting is that, like, in this Hindu system, what I noticed is that it goes and flows much more naturally than other forms of magic I studied. It's pretty organic.
It should be organic, because that's the main thing, right? Like this is the main thing I keep trying to tell everybody, right? Look, This is the main thing Abhinavagupta says, which is like the main master of all of us. And he goes, look, man, just use some basic fucking logic. Okay, just basic logic. Let's use some basic logic. If the universe is alive, if the universe is intelligent, if the universe is everywhere, then it's listening to my thoughts at all time, and it knows exactly what I want. So why do I got to go through this huge fucking ritual to tell it exactly what I want, to communicate directly? Like, I don't need to go through this huge fucking ritual. I can just be like, hey, I want this, and I want this, and I want that. And it'll listen. It's like, that's the thing, is we make it harder than it is, because we're trying to get to this original understanding that, hey, it's all consciousness. In fact, it is so intimate that it literally knows you better than you know your fucking self.
Yeah. So what do you think about this, Joseph? I am kind of hit by a truck, because here is the thing. So I kind of understand what you are saying, but your language is so high and so poetic that sometimes I need to really focus in order to not sound stupid and tell you to repeat something.
Sorry, it's okay. I love to clarify. Just ask me. It's no problem. But
yeah, but what do you think about all of this, Joseph?
Well, there's a reason why I brought him on. I've been aware of this guy for over a year now, and every time I watch his videos and listen to his teachings, I'm like, that's me, right? I don't have to fucking say a word. He's dead on. He's one of the most influential figures in my studies. Whether you know that or not, Caligula, I watch you closely, often, and yeah.
So here's the thing. I like it. So technically, what happened? So I don't know how to say this, but like, I'm gonna say this, and this will kind of slaughter many sacred cows, but I want to hear your opinion about this topic. So I tried to raise the Kundalini manually, like, you know, all of those raising Kundalini techniques and breath and shit. And then I realized that that entire concept of raising Kundalini is like false, because the only way you can actually raise your Kundalini, aka your consciousness, is through gradual sadhana and through gradual devotion to the gods and to opening up the potential of the self. There is no like magical formula for raising Kundalini. I mean, all of that works to an extent, but the main thing about raising it is to be devoted to the gods and to work with them, and then it will kind of raise over time naturally. What do you think about this issue? Because like Kundalini yoga, it's a big business. There is big money there, and I tried many things, and I do not see a substance in that.
So I that's one of the main reasons why I was brought to this path, was because, you know, when I was growing up, one of the questions that I had for my, like, okay, imagine that I have like an entity inside of me, and I'm like 13 years old, and I'm not really sure who the entity is, but I'm asking it questions, right? And so one of the things that I'm asking it is like, okay, how do I pass this experience that you've given me to another person? Like, I want to give it to another person, right? Like, how do I give it to another person? So then it started guiding me into the mystical text, and it showed me that this process of transferring the energy into another individual is called Shaktipat. And it's a form of Kundalini, but it's a form of Kundalini in where the other individual surrenders to you, and you use your merit and you transfer your merit into them. So their surrender allows them to become like an open vessel, but only if they surrender. There has to be surrender. If there's no surrender, this won't happen. And there's no fake surrender. Either you surrender or you don't. The minute you surrender, it happens. It's like, whoa, and it's called Shaktipat. You put your hand on their head, and they surrender, and you push it in. You don't push it in. It's just almost like, it's like the dam. It's like you have a dam, and you remove the dam, and it just flows into them. And they remove their dam, which is why they surrender, and it just flows into them. And it's called, you know, this is grace. This is Shaktipat. But, you know, if the student's not ready, if the vessel's not ready, they go crazy. They'll that energy will flow into them, and they'll just start and start fucking running around. Just be like crying and on the floor, like they'll just go into this cleansing mode because they're not ready. They got to clean. So the Kundalini's waking up and they're cleaning them, just throwing all this shit out. And it's like, you got to fucking take care of them for the next 2 months and nurture them back so that they can handle this thing that you just gave them, because it's fucking, and it's you just open them up completely, right? So this is the big problem, is that in the Kundalini business, there's two types. There's the fake Kundalini people who are like, oh yeah, let's imagine our chakras and open them up. Yes, one by one. Oh, like, that's fake. You're mad. There's nothing happening. There's no experience. Okay, but there are Kundalini teachers who have some power, who gather a bunch of people in a room and go around, pa, 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 one after the other, and they get it. They're like, ah, 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 ah. But the problem is that all of these people, like 90% of them, get Kundalini psychosis and then just become like homeless people, or they become like people who mentally ill who never recover from it, because they're just like completely turned on and they have no structure whatsoever to make any sense of what's happening to them.
Yeah. So what you told me indirectly, that in order to raise my Kundalini, I need to surrender to the Devi in order to be awakened, and surrender needs to be complete.
Is complete.
So,
and this is why we do puja, right? Like when you look at the puja, which is the basic form of worship, we use 5 components. The 5 components correspond to the 5 elements and the 5 senses. So you gather these 5 elements, they correspond to your 5 senses, and then you sacrifice them to the image of the Devi, and you use these 5 things, because what is she trying to tell you? She's trying to tell you, look, what I really want, I don't want these fucking items, I don't want these things. What I really want is you to put all your 5 senses on me. Surrender to me completely. Your 5 senses are what matters. Your complete 100% attention is what I want. But you're gonna keep doing this puja until you fucking wake up, dummy. Because this is what she's trying to do. She's trying to tell you you're a dummy, but she's trying to be nice to you. She's like so she makes you do the sacrifice, and she blesses you. She gives you food. She gives you house. She gives you wife. She gives you a place to practice. And eventually you get the idea that what she really wants was your attention. You do all the real work is up in here. So the Devi in her more intense scripture, she goes, external sacrifice is nice, but the highest form of sacrifice is internal. And what she means by that is your full attention. So that means the mantra that she's giving you, if you just recite that mantra all the time, that's one form of being one-pointed. Or like looking at the murti and just like looking at the murti and being like, I love you. That works too. Like, I love you. Like, fill me with your fucking power. Like, I surrender to you, and just be like doing that over and over again. The Muslims have a fucking great idea when they fucking do 5 times a day. They get on that little fucking, on their mat, and they get down on the floor and they do this thing 5 times a day. Like, if you had a ritual where you forced yourself to focus your 5 senses 5 times a day, eventually, like within a few weeks, you'd eventually get to what I'm talking about. But if you did it like now, if you just spent the next whatever, no, not even a ritual. Like if you just spent all your time just thinking about the Devi, thinking about her, thinking, hey, I surrender. I want to see you. I want you. I want to feel you. Everything. The minute you wake up to the minute you go to sleep, even in your dreams before you go to sleep, I want you to come and see me. I want you to talk. I want to talk to you. I want you to guide me. I want you to teach me. I want you to show me the right way. I want you to just keep doing that. Eventually, it's going to happen. What she wants is for you to be 100% focused. In the yoga, this is called brahmacharya, right? And so why do we call brahmacharya? Why is celibacy called brahmacharya? It's a confusion. What they're saying is that if you want this reality to be your teacher, which is the Brahman, if you want Brahman to be your teacher, pay fucking attention, 100%. If you're fucking going around trying to get your dick wet, you're not paying attention. You're 100% everything that you are, everything. Your money-making energy, your fucking energy, your entertainment energy, all your energy has to be devoted to one thing, which is achieving that state of Brahman. So that's brahmacharya. It's like, if you're going to be a yogi, there's no wasting any of your energy. All 100% of your energy has to be on what? Contacting the Devi. So that's what we mean by surrender. Surrender means like 100% of everything that you do has to be focused on achieving contact with the Devi.
Yeah. So that's like an answer to many of my questions. Thank you for really being here, and I would want to talk to you for like 2 more hours, but this will last half of an hour more. But I need to share this one experience I had. So technically, what I was instructed is to kind of repeat the mantra to Kali and then offer my sexual energy to her. And what happened during that is like the most intense thing ever. So I kind of repeated the mantra until I saw her etheric form in front of me, and it kind of took a lot of time because you need a lot of focus for energy to condense and for her to appear in a way. And when I started like stimulating myself and moving that energy, what happened is like orgasmic feeling in entire energy field. Like from
Yes.
the toe in the legs to the bottom of the head, everything was like burning and everything was pure electricity. And she was like moving enormous amounts of energy. And what I saw in that point was like moving void, but only for a glimpse of a second, like 1 millisecond, like a glooming void moving. And what she told me is that the point of my evolution, my personal evolution, it doesn't apply to anybody else who watches this, so everybody has the brain to decide is it for them, is to transgress. So I need to do some form of transgression constantly. And that's like my personal instruction I got. Now, what is, in your opinion, your personal opinion, the definition of that transgression? Because what is interesting is when I see her, this is like weird. When I see her manifest many, many times during the day, she always manifests like in the heaven, but the heaven turns black. So I, a lot of the time, see her in the sky, but the entire sky turns black for a second. And I only see her, but this is like when I do mantra a lot and I am like pretty exhausted. So I see her on the black heaven a lot of the time. So heaven turns black and there is only Kali on it. There is no sun, there is no moon, there is no stars, nothing. Like just the image of the deity. And like, what is your definition of that transgression? Because I am really interested in that.
So everything comes from like a context. Like for example, if we were in a play right now, or like in a video game, you and I are in a video game, we're in a play, like in a drama, right? We need context. We need like set and setting. Like where are we? What day is it? Like the age and everything, right? So the year is 2021 and we're in the Kali Yuga. So the Kali Yuga gives us the context. So late into the Kali Yuga, we're almost at the very end of the Kali Yuga. When we talk about transgression, what the fuck does that mean? If we talked about transgression in the Satya Yuga, I could tell you clear as day what the fuck transgression means. But in the Kali Yuga, it's like everybody around you is transgressing. So what does transgression become? To do the right thing? Is that transgression? I mean, transgression is a personal thing, subjective, and it's relative to your location. That's the key thing, your location, where you were born, the womb you came out of, the society you find yourself in, the everyday situation you're in, right? So part of what I said originally at the beginning was that Kali is the goddess of the Tamas Guna, right? Because she is the queen of the Tamas Guna, guess who is her main lieutenant in this world during this age? Kali the demon. So Kali the demon is actually an extension of Kali the goddess. So in reality, there is no higher dharma right now than to do what Kali the demon is doing, because that's what's supposed to happen. This world is supposed to be destroyed through the fulfillment of demonic desire, like the demons, through the fulfillment of their desire. As you're being filled with desire by Kali, you're doing her will, because she wants you to destroy this world. That is the extension of her plan on this world, to cleanse it. See, this age needs to be destroyed because all of these people, they are living in sin, and so you are like part of the sweet fucking narrative that I've been privy to is that I'm like justice, that I'm like the retribution of God, the goddess through evil, like my evil and the people that I do evil to. She is the one calculating up in the sky. All I have to do is give in to the dark desires, right? And she was the one who calculates it. Who deserves it? I don't have to sit there and be like, oh, does that motherfucker deserve it? No. When she inspires me, I do it. And she is the one who sets up the situation, you know? She's the one who gives us the prey. Like there's this one sadhana, right? It's called the Python sadhana, where you from this point on, you give yourself completely to the goddess, and you're like I will be a python, and whatever you send to me, I will eat. No discrimination, but I won't go for anything. I'm not going to try to reach for anything. I'm just going to move slowly, and whatever you send to me, I eat. And so that's just one type of sadhana, right? That's one type of doing this. This is more like Agora sadhana. This is found in that Paramarthasara book that I keep talking about, where it talks about how being like a snake, the snake path. You know, the snake eats whatever is put in front of him. There's no discrimination. It's just, and so when we talk about the reptilians and the function of the reptilians in this world, it's like the reptilians are like an extension of the Lord's justice system. The reptilians eat the bad ones, like the really bad ones. They deserve it. The reptilians like send out psionic waves seduce them, and those people go into the dark places, and then they get eaten by the reptilians because they deserve it. This is how it happens, right? So it's
Yeah,
like
the Nagas. They are called the Nagas. Yeah.
yeah, the Nagas, they're everywhere. The reptilians exist in all kinds of sorts. There's giant ones at the bottom of lakes. There's some in rivers. There's some in the sky as spirits. They're everywhere. They're all kinds of, just like how there's all kinds of humans, there's all kinds of Nagas, right? And they were here before we were, way before we were. So it's like some of them are our ancestors. And part of what the function of the Nagas, part of their function is to eat the bad humans, the ones who decide to go down into the tunnels and be like, what's down here? What's down here, guys? It's like, your food, bitch. That's what's down here. It's like you're inspired to go do these fucking stupid things because you deserve it. Like if you look at the missing people in the United States, there's like more missing people than ever before. Because of why? Because these people, they willingly go into these places. They're like, hey, Bob, let's go and fucking hike for this fucking weekend. And they go on and disappear. And you ask yourself why? And it's because they had the karma for it, right? That's the thing people don't understand, is that this whole universe is on a karma wheel. And so Kali, her function is to deliver the black karma, like the stuff that creates fungus, the stuff that creates cancer, the stuff that eats away all of the crap. It's meant to cleanse the world, to create new. How do we create the rich black soil if we don't fucking spill blood and have rotting corpses? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's why I'm saying, like, when Kali calls to us, she's calling to us because we have that natural disposition to be. We are, whatever the fuck it is that we are, whatever inclination that we have. But the thing is, the question I give you, do you want to be like a demon that like quickly performs their function and then dies and then gets sent to the lower realm where they can continue doing their work? Or do you want to like stick around for a while doing like cool stuff? Because if you turn too demonic too quickly, you'll get like arrested. You'll like get locked up. People will fucking kill you, right? Like they'll be like, oh, that guy's a fucking monster, and they'll fucking kill you, right? Like, so you got to be careful, right? You can't come out too strong too fast. But because it's the Kali Yuga, this is my path now. Like, I'm telling you what I'm doing. Because it's the Kali Yuga, I'm putting on a suit and a tie, I'm shaving up, and I'm gonna go play the game just like all the big guys playing. Because all these fucking billionaires, they're big black fucking dragons. They're playing the game like they get everything they want delivered to them, and it's perfectly legal, and nobody says shit. There's no greater fucking power than being just fucking having rich amounts of fucking money. And you know, the number one thing, and let me tell you, the number one deception that we put on people, which is the Kali Yuga. This is an admission. The number one deception that we put on people is there's such thing as resource scarcity. There's an infinite amount of resources. There's an infinite amount of universes. In fact, each person is potentially a whole fucking cosmos. And that's that secret we don't want nobody to know. As soon as everybody starts to figure out that they themselves can create their whole universe from themselves, they're no longer going to want to be our fucking slaves. They're no longer going to be our Uber Eats driver. They're not going to be fucking wanting to do Uber driving. They're not going to be wanting to fucking clean the toilets. They're not going to be wanting to do all this shit. We can't let people fucking know that they can become gods. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, that's part of the fucking deception of being this. Is like part of being a fucking king or a khan or a mafioso or whatever the fuck is creating power structures to allocate resources, right? That's what an asura is. The classical definition of an asura is a lord of wealth, a lord of power. So the difference between a deva and an asura is the deva's like, I'm an infinite spiritual being and I'm just floating up in space. I don't need anything. I'm just love and light. But an asura is like, fuck that shit. I want fucking empire. I want cars and women and land. Like, what the fuck is the point of this if it isn't in enjoying all this shit, right? I don't want to fucking destroy the world. I want to make it in my own image. And so for me, transgression is more like being, you know what? I'm going to be ruthlessly hyper capitalist and just like build my own empire, my own image. Because you know what? There's plenty of land and there's plenty of people willing to work for you. Plenty of people throughout the world. You can just gather people up, put them in a fucking place and have them work for you. You can sit back and enjoy for the rest of your life just having whatever you want, order whatever you want from Alibaba, eBay, whatever, every whatever richness of the world, you can have it delivered to your fucking doorstep. This is no greater time right now than to fucking, God, this is our time. This is a time for us to stop being like fucking retarded and get smart And this is the only reason why I'm appealing to left-hand path people and be like, look, guys, if we come together and we pool and we think just like these fucking guys are doing it, we clean up, we do it illegally, we could get so fucking rich so fast because we're so much smarter and so much better than all these motherfuckers. The Kali Yuga is 99% empty fucking idiot. 99, and us, we're exceptional. Like, we shouldn't be fucking fighting by ourselves, struggling with this shit. We should be like using other people to facilitate us. Like that. What is the promise of these teachings if it's not fucking world domination? You know what I mean? Like, we should. Why not? Like, we should be in Rolls Royces. We should have servants up the ass. We should be importing fucking all kinds of fucking resources left and right. Why? Look, think about this. All these motherfuckers are always LARPing about wanting to be great Khans in the past, right? But you know, those great Khans had to build armies to take shit over. Bro, you don't got to build no army. You literally just got to be an employer and employ people, and you could be greater than any Khan you could ever fucking imagine. All you got to do is be a fucking good employer. That's it. Build a business, a solid business, make it a global national multi-corporation, and you can become richer than any fucking Khan has ever been seen in history right now. The amount of wealthy people that are being created overnight right now is fucking sickening. But instead of getting upset and crying over it, it's like, fucking let's do it. We can do it easily. In 10 years, we could easily become fucking millionaires.
Yeah, but like, I maybe disagree with your definition of transgression, but I definitely understand what's transgression for me now. So I will do whatever I consider the transgression fuck right now.
But think about what you could do if you had unlimited resources. You know, a lot of these businesses are just fronts. Like 99% of those businesses that you see on Main Street are fronts for some fucking crazy shit.
So this is your mission, Demetrius. We need you to redefine your transgressions. Come up with bigger and better transgressions.
Yeah, so I will definitely spend a lot of time in my meditation to figure what is transgressive for me, right? What I consider the most transgressive thing I can do, and then do that exactly. Because that's
in Agora, they have this thing called the bonds, the 8 bonds, and they're called nooses. And so the point of transgression originally was to destroy the nooses. So you find out how the nooses have you, and you focus your transgression on the noose. So if your noose is like of a particular kind, you focus your sadhana on that, on breaking that noose. So like if you care about what people think about you, then you go into public and you just start being a complete fucking idiot so that everybody thinks you're a fucking idiot until you break that inside of you. Like you go directly into breaking the bonds. Whatever, I'm just giving you a simple example, right? Like if you're, whatever that bond may be, that if you look them up, there's 8 of them. And one of the main bonds is aversion, right? This is one of the reasons why the Agoris go out and they eat everything, including shit and piss and all that shit, is because they want to break the noose of aversion.
Yeah. So technically, what I came to understand through conversation with you is simply go into meditation, invoke the goddess, and then do whatever you fear the most.
Exactly. Yes, it's a very personal process more than anything.
Because the fear is the main indicator that you are bound to something.
Yeah, fear is one of them, right? Fear is one bound. Like the 8 ones, I think one's like anger is a bind too, right? Like your enemy controls you through your anger, right? So one of the things is you want to get control of your anger by getting yourself so angry that you look directly at your anger while you're getting angry. So you go do a bunch of fucking angry shit. And during the midst of doing horrible angry shit, you get to take a good look at yourself and then be like, oh, that's why I'm angry all the time. And that's why you kill it. That's why you cut it right there. You in the moment of that, you get clarity of why it is that you were so angry, and then you kill it, and now you get control over your anger, and now it's a bond that you've destroyed. So a lot of these Agoris are doing practices that are specifically aimed at breaking the binds, and once they're broken, they just drop. They're done. They're like, I broke the bind. I don't have to worry about this shit anymore. I don't care.
So I wanted to implore the audience. This video was intended to be a devotional video for Jai Kali Ma. And for myself, I want to implore the audience to invite Kali into your life as Shiva, because you are Shiva. Beg her, beg on your knees for Kali to descend from the roof, from the heavens, and bless you with her Shakti. And don't you never, I want to warn the audience, you don't conjure Kali Ma. She comes as she wants to by her good graces. And I will share with the audience an invitation of Kali Ma as Shiva, and I'll say it kind of slow. Om Kesa Bahyasta Bahatni Yanamahe. O Devi, Hrim Srim Krim Bedhabaswati He Swaha. Kesti Pawatye Kalima Shivaya Kalima Shivaya. And just beg her to come to you. And she will. I believe she will. You don't conjure Kalima.
Yeah, so I don't know what else to say to you guys. It was like, so this conversation was like really insightful in a deep way, because there is a lot of hidden information in a conversation which can be unlocked if you're like resonant with it. But right now I kind of understand what I was actually saying and what's happening, and you two guys actually helped me a lot. So my advice to the audience is to really uh, before you try to reach Kali, before you try anything, what you should be contemplating really is, do you really want to like reach that ultimate truth? Is it really what you wanna? Because from my experience, I am still far from the ultimate truth as man can be. I am far from the end of the way. But I cannot deny that that's extremely destructive process. It has nothing to do with happy love and life and love and light. It's really extremely destructive process. And what the aspirant needs to ask himself is he willing to confront that destruction in order to reach the truth?
It really is self-sacrifice, but in the sense that like everything that you are right now is going to be sacrificed, because what you are basically are asking for is the fastest path to truth. So everything in your way is going to be destroyed.
Yeah.
And like the emperor, you like there's keys to that story and that mythos that you repeated. You cannot be like the emperor and will not be willing to sacrifice yourself,
Exactly.
or
Yeah.
you will trigger another Kalian incident.
Yeah.
Because she will get all fucked up. Because see, the thing is, like, if Kali is about giving everything up to achieve this grand knowledge, right? But if you're like trying to set all this shit up and you back out on the most important aspect, which is to sacrifice your own self, your shit's gonna get all fucked, bro. It's that's what happens to every Kali person that comes to Kali who isn't sincere about this, who just wants to wear Kali as like a aesthetic to look cool in front of her friends. Mm-mm. Your leg's gonna get broken. I've seen it. Like shit's gonna not be good.
Other benefits about being other benefits of being a true devotee of Kali, you won't have to curse anyone. Your enemies that move against you, she'll burn them down. She'll cut them down. She'll burn them down. You won't even have to utter a word if your devotion and sincerity and your love for the goddess is sincere.
The goddess, I gotta say this, the goddess is a wish fulfilling like tree of paradise, right? Like she will grant you wishes if you ask sincerely, and but you got to be careful about that, because I asked Kali for something and I fucking got it, and it was fucking it fucked the shit out of my life. Everything about my life was turned upside down, but I got exactly what I asked for. So be careful, you'll get exactly what you asked for, you know like.
But like, she is, I cannot. So I worked with many devis, and she is one of the devis, one of the deities I worked with, which is like one of the purest gateways to primordial truth, primordial nothingness. Then anything I ever summoned. And what I want to say is that work with her has to it a form of intensity which cannot be described, but which is different and more intense than many of other spirits which exist. So, since you kind of, Caligula, know what intensity that is, how one can like prepare for that intensity? Like, is there any way of preparing for it?
Okay, let me put it like this, right? I was just thinking about why a lot of people get their shit fucked up when they come to Kali, right? Let's put it like this, right? Like this world is an illusion. This world is like a story, right? And the story has characters, and all these characters are like, we're like in a Game of Thrones type of story, like the world, right? And Kali is like, I'm not here to fucking show you how to become like the next king or queen. I'm here to fucking destroy the world, right? So you come to Kali and you're like, hey, I want to, get power from you, and you're trying to get power so that you can become like a figure in the story, like to become a character in the story. And she's like, no, I don't. That's not what I do. Like my goal, my job is to fucking destroy the story, not make you a fucking character. And so a lot of the times what happens is that people come to Kali expecting fucking benefits in the story, when all that's happening is they're being erased in the story. All their connections are being erased, and like, what's happening? And it's like, bro, like Kali is the eraser of the story. Like, she's gonna give you ultimate truth, which is gonna get you like outside of the fucking Muggle world and into the fucking real world, which is what's actually happening behind the fucking show. So you want backstage passes to the show, but are crying because you're no longer on the fucking stage. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta be prepared to accept the fact that everything that connects you to the world and the way that it's functioning is gonna be sacrificed. Your girlfriend, your mom, all your friends, all of these things, they may be sacrificed. Maybe there's somebody who's going to be facilitating you on this path, and they'll be spared. But for the most part, like almost everything's going to be cut from your life. So are you ready for that? Like, I don't know how to explain how to get ready for fucking having your entire fucking shit fucking. You know what I mean? Like, you just got to be. Are you ready to throw yourself into the darkness and be embraced by the goddess? Because that's what it is. It's a leap of faith. It's a leap of faith.
Yeah, but there is then a question. So you kind of saw the glimpse of that thing with Kali. You kind of had everything destroyed. And then you decided to return to the world of Asuras and become your own king, right? So you decided.
But that was her doing. See, I was going to die. And as I was dying, I was like, I'm there, like have been fucked up by a demon, because I fucked around with the demon, and the demon couldn't touch me because I'm protected, but he got me another way, which is he made me fall, and so I fell and I hurt myself really bad, and I was like ready to die, because like my liver was really bad, and my liver and where I got hurt was like right on my heart and my liver, and I was like blown up, bloated. And I was just pretty much, I could feel the life force leaving my body. And I was just like, that's it. I'm done for. Like, I fucked up and I'm paying for the price. Like, this is what I wanted, right? I got my end of the deal. I got exactly what I wanted, but now I got to pay the price. And I was fucking ready to die. And that's when I was like, if you're listening, I know this is fucking bullshit, but if you save me, I will do this, and this. And I woke up the next morning and I was healed. And my mission in life is to spread these teachings. She specifically wants me to write a version of the Bhagavad Gita, but with her talking instead of Krishna talking.
So technically, I need to say this. I apologize if you want to say something more and I am interrupting you.
No, that's it. That was it.
But what I wanted to say is that there is a pattern here. So every serious magician I know, every serious mystic I know, every serious practitioner I know, started being a mystic, a practitioner, a magician, whatever, after a confrontation with death. My first confrontation with the spirits was when I held the knife in my hand to cut my veins, and I was ready to do it 100%. And then the pillar of flame arose in front of me and I saw my first spirit. I saw the first intelligence. Your path became elevated when you died, right? when you were technically dead. And that was the same with Joseph. He also had his own really intense confrontation with death, and with death of a dear person, which made him become who he is. So the end of the story is for us, in order to spiritually evolve, we need to die in one way or the other. Without dying, without that cataclysmic destruction, without that personal version of a obliteration, spiritual evolution is not possible.
It's not.
Just yesterday, I had a guy who is like a Christian theologian, and he like describes to me that he was wounded in the leg, and he was at the edge of death. And he told me, while I was dying, I had a dream, and in that dream, two Valkyries brought me in front of the throne of somebody, and I didn't know who it was. And I tell the guy, it's Wotan, it's Wotan. And then he's like, yeah. And then he describes me that during his life, he saw 2 times like a cloud of dark orange energy, which like trying to take the form. And then I tell him the dark orange energy is exactly how I see Wotan, before he manifests. So like there is like 7 instances or 8 instances of people literally becoming a magician seriously only when they saw death, or becoming mystic seriously only when they almost died. So I kind of understand right now what Kali meant by beheading. I technically need to die again. I need to die once more.
There's
So
multiple deaths. There's a lot of
Yeah.
deaths. Like I
Yeah.
died once when I was like 4. I died again when I was like 10. I died again when I was like, I think when I was like 17. I died again when I was 28. And then I recently died again. Very recently again, I had that when I was 35. I had that one I was just telling you right now. And then recently I also had a moment where I thought I was going to die again, and that's when I was being called back again. But this time it was Shiva who was calling me back. So, but yeah, like death has been my whole life. Like this is it. Like I've been around death my whole life. That's the thing. Ever since I was a kid, it's just been like my whole life being brought back from the dead. And unfortunately, it's something that I don't really like to talk about sometimes because I get a little upset. But you know, I've done some things in the past that I regret, and it has more to do with the fact that I've hurt people that I love, and you know, that thing where I've like hurt people that I love by sending them into the other world and then bring them back into this world has also been a theme about what I'm here to do as well. So death is why we're attracted to all this. I mean, death is life. Like this is why in the Bhagavad Gita chapter 2 verse 69 it says, to the sage who's alive, this world is dead, but to everybody who's alive here, they think that we're dead. So they see us and that they think we're dead, like that we're necromancers or we're like death priests or whatever. But in reality, the normal world is the dead world, and so that's why you have to die to the normal world so that you can be alive in the real world.
So technically, I kind of need to talk about Shiva because I also started working seriously with Shiva. But I kind of work with Shiva and then it becomes too intense and then I stop. But then he returns and then he kicks my ass. And he kicks my ass really badly and forces me to continue the work. So I technically use mantra Om Namah Shivaya or some other well-known chant until I see some form of a presence. And then I focus on a presence and continue chanting until I make contact. So that's how I work with him. But he specifically told me that there is important element of doing specific physical exercise in a specific manner in order to work with him.
That's
so
exactly what I was
he
going to say. I was going to say that to work with Shiva, you have to do specific physical exercises. That's the point.
Yeah. So I kind of need to be honest here, and I will turn the fucking camera for the end of this video. Who gives a fuck? So, do you see me, guys?
No, I don't see. I
see
see
a shadow.
blackness.
You see a shadow. So let me like turn on the lights because I am like in a dark room, like a lunatic for this interview. Just give me like, just give me like 2 minutes to turn on the light. Right?
We're nearing the end of this video. I wanted to thank you, Caligula, for coming on. Sincerely, thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me. It's been a pleasure, guys.
Yeah, and we'll definitely call you again. We can like have these chats every week. This is like ridiculous. So technically speaking, guys, what I wanted to speak about for the last part of this video is that on this path you will be purposefully challenged. For example, I kind of really have some health issues which prevent me from doing classical yoga. I will don't go into details. So I am forced to exercise as hard as possible and heavily innovate due to classical things being not so much available to me. Here on this path, you kind of need to work with gods and you need to challenge yourself and you need to innovate heavily. Otherwise, what will happen is your ego will become overblown and you will simply devour yourself. So your pride will become too strong and it will eat you from the inside.
So that's something that happened to me. Is that my pride got real, like my ego got really big, and I did some stuff that you're not supposed to do. And that's one of the reasons why I had my great fall, was reasons why I was going to die, is because I fucked up like big time, right? Like fucked up big time. And yes, that's possible, right? It is very possible to have to go overboard, right? Like your ego blinds you, and then you forget the purpose of your sadhana, and then you fuck yourself, right? So, but there is a path of ego, like in the Shiva Stotravali, which is a special text. It talks about a hidden path of ego, but it can only happen is if your ego and your like aggrandizement of your ego, like yourself, like blowing yourself ego up, getting your ego up, only if you do it as an adoration of Shiva as Shiva himself. So that's
Oh, they're good.
that's
Thank you.
like
Appreciate
that's
it.
the caveat, that you got to be like as Shiva himself. If you die that way, you become Shiva himself, and that's the cool thing about this, is that, you know, it's like, even though you're not immortal, even though you're not all powerful, but if you walk around thinking, hey, I'm Shiva, I'm the greatest, I'm the Lord, all of that, right? And you die doing that, you will become Shiva. Like that's the beautiful part of this path.
Yeah, but technically speaking, there is one more thing I kind of need to say regarding the ego. So as long as you see physical objects, people, and animals and everything, as long as you see this world, you are in the state of ego. You are in the state of ignorance. So technically, what I constantly get is that there is a procedure, because like left-hand path is extremely traumatic. And if your ego isn't strong enough and you follow the left-hand path, you can like destroy your personality and go insane. So on this path of the left hand, you kind of need to strengthen the ego in order to be capable of surviving all of those transgressive acts. But you also need to prevent ego from becoming too big and eating you from inside. So the balance between the two is actually the most important part, and the control of the ego is technically the biggest danger, because like once you feed on all of that negative energy from those lower dimensions, you naturally become egotistical, and
Yeah.
it becomes really difficult to control your own emotions. It literally feels that you are like in a state of animalistic euphoria all the time, and you are happy on that animalistic euphoria and you feel empowered. But that's a really dangerous form of happiness. In that state of exalted animalistic happiness, if somebody crosses your way, you can easily lose your temper and curse somebody, or do some really crazy damn shit without even noticing. And if you kind of lose control over it, in that animalistic euphoria, chaos will just multiply. And this kind of path is really dangerous for that exact reason. But I kind of have, before I close this together with you and all of us, something to share. So you kind of go into deep meditation and you start doing classic psychic vampirism, which is like building tentacles from your aura. But for this specific technique, the tentacles have to be really dirty, dark gray energy. The type of the dark gray energy you feel radiating from the really decaying corpses. So the most benevolent and painful dark gray energy ever. And you insert that tentacle into the